Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to Sunday Sessions. It's the 11th of April, 2021. Well, thank you all for taking time for joining us for our weekly time of exploring nature-centered folklore, connecting this within your favorite sanctuary space and expressing inspired visions from your sanctuary through your poetry, writing, arts, crafts, performance, and of course, problem solving. Now, today's Sunday Sessions, this was the second most popular Sunday session when I presented this last year, so I trust you'll enjoy it as much today. And this is Discovering the She, folklore-based visualization. And through today, we'll be exploring what the she world is and what does it really mean, and what the Celtic romance revival thought of the she and the fairy folk, and then, of course, the popular Tuatha De Danann story and the variations on this. Now, the different she people are shared by different storytellers. There's many expressions and ways of talking about the she, but using the often the fairy world is used as a tool for fear-mongering. Amongst the most famous is perhaps the stolen child story, and we'll be coming back to that later on. And then during the sort of church era, we've had the fallen angels. And then, of course, we'll be featuring Tir na Nog as well, the white horses of Tir na Nog. And also, of course, we've got to be talking about the kayak, the builder of the she mounds. There's Elamaka there up in the north. And we'll be going into the fairy faith and how we actually may be living this. Now, guests today, we've got some lovely guests, of course. And we got Irish hype maker Brian Callan. He hasn't joined us yet, but here's a picture of him. He was on Nationwide, which is a popular show in Ireland, and demonstrating his wonderful harp craft there. And thinking of the magic of the she, plus last week covering a bit of the three trees, the enchantment of the bard, somehow segue from she to harp seems natural for us to do today. It's hard to imagine she stories without harp enchantment in my mind. Plus, of course, I wanted an excuse to feature harp maker Brian Callan to this show. And hopefully he'll find his way here soon, which would be fantastic. And then after Brian Callan, she's already on the backstage here. We have the beautiful Sandra Parker, who's a lovely singer-harpist, whose most recent album is the very pretty and enchanting Call of the Fairy. And we have the return of the lovely Claire Roach, who's going to beautifully perform The Stolen Child. What else for us? Of course, we've got to feature that. And we'll have a panel session today. So join us with your questions for answers, and hopefully everyone here will be joining the panel. Let's see who's here. And so we can say hello to you. We have Candace here coming through YouTube. Good morning from North Carolina, a subject that you're going to enjoy. And just down the road from us, we got Denise and Didier, who are almost sort of neighbors, and Shell Gooch as well. So thank you for joining us. It's a funny sort of day here. It's kind of sunny. We've had a bit of snow this morning. Cloudy, it's pretty cold. This is why I'm inside. I say about being in your sanctuary, but that's something that we're not kind of able to do. Now, I've got to do a bit of adjustment because we've got a fairly busy screen, and maybe we've got Brian here, and I know he isn't. I'm going to make the screen so I can actually see him when he turns up. That will do that. Fabulous. Let's get out of that. But thank you. Oh, we got someone else turned up. We got Marie from Dolniki from Canada. Lovely. Thank you again. We'll come back to your comments. It's lovely that you're all here. Well, these Karakuri Sunday sessions and the Karakuri Labyrinth are all brought to you by thanks to the contributions of the Patreon subscribers, because of the subscriptions I need to do to bring this sort of show to you now. So thank you for your support. As I may not be here this afternoon hosting this if it wasn't but I'll make the start here. And no, we haven't got Brian yet. Now, the she itself, it doesn't seem to be a word that's been tempered with too much over the centuries, which is very good for this kind of folklore. There are so many new. Well, let's go back to the. Really, it's going back to the early 19th century. Probably, if the word changes, one of the trends that fascinates me is how the printing presses started to come down in price. So, early 19th century, as I've mentioned on Sunday sessions before, people could set up printing businesses in their homes or in sheds in their gardens. And a lot of these new small business printers, they printed up folklore that was popular. And often people would get the broadsheets and they'd be told a bit different. And these printers needed to sell their printing. So they actually printed these stories. They changed them a bit into a way that they hope would actually sell. And here's a lovely picture of a broadsheet seller. Even the mummers' plays, the stories, the songs, people would take these, they would get their friends around at home, and they would make their own interpretation. W.B. Yeats, that's definitely what he would have done. And he's quite famous for his presentation of the she. So, as I say, I'm sorry I've got a technical issue here, but we'll get over that. So from this, the Celtic Romanticism culture grew. The groups met in their homes or even small halls. They reenacted, they reinterpreted all this new printed material and made it their own. But many of us think of the she today as another way of saying fairy folk. And I've got into that habit of interpretation as well. And I think this is because the internet, and when it arrived, it accelerated this reinterpretation. There was a bit, as I say, with Celtic Romanticism, but the change was much faster than with the new printed broadsheets. And this reinterpretation became even faster again through the social media. But I'm going to step back to the she before there was printing and when there was just scribing. And then it seems the she were really describing a mound. And we got one near us. This is Shiko, Cornishigo, which is, you can see from here, and you can see the little hawthorn right at the front. And this is sort of aligned from the entrance of our tree labyrinth garden here. And it's because the ancient language was not focused on things. I often talk of this as well. But the language was focused on the conditions of what was going on. And the she was not actually mentioning a mound, but the word in it, when it's spread out, is really explaining or trying to convey what's going on inside of this mound. And see that pathway going up there. The locals call that a pathway to the fairies. So it's a description of what's going on. And many people are familiar, and most of you watching will be familiar with the mythology of the Tuatha Dé Danann, which people call the fairy race, the half-human, half-fairy race. And the storytellers describe them that way, and how they made a pact with the invading Milesians. And the Milesians, they tell, as ruling above ground, while the Tuatha Dé Danann went underground and they ruled from there. But that's a very simplistic description. What's a very profound story. And if you've watched previous Sunday sessions, you'll know I dip into fragments of that story quite frequently as it fits the subject that we're going over. So between Lunasa and Soan, you'll hear me tell much more about that. But where the Tuatha Dé Danann is said to have entered underground, they're called the Fairy Hills of Ireland. And people visiting Ireland, they love to visit them, see what this is all about, see if they can feel the she for themselves. And we got places like, is this it? Yeah, Knockniny. There's a rainbow over Knockniny. That's up in Fermanagh. We've got Knocknarea, which is near us, Sligo. That's quite famous to a lot of people. And Knocknashee, which is not that far away. That's also County Sligo. And they've recently opened a lovely pathway to that. I haven't actually been up it yet, but that must be a goal of the near future. But soon after the Tuatha De Danann were underground, the Milesians discovered they couldn't farm as well as the Danann people did. The Milesians, as said in a lot of stories, they're really forest people. They were the Gael people, the original Gael people. And somehow the forests of islands were not sustaining them. So some of the stories tell of a balanced deal between the underworld Tuatha De Danann to fertilize the underground roots to ensure good yields in the sun above ground for the Milesians. And it seems to be that it's from this legend that the stories of the Sidhe, the Fae world, and the fairies have really evolved and come amongst us, and have probably been told for at least 3,000 years now. So amongst these beings, the spirits, the entities of the underworld, we have the Sidhe, which I've got some spellings here. Let's see if I can roll them up for you, because there's various, you'll see a Scottish version here. Oh no, Sidhe, they live in the Sidhe Mountains anyway. They live underground. And amongst the Book of Invasions, Liber Gabala Aaron is an old copy of it, a page from it. This was first scribed around the 11th century, but it doesn't seem to be clear who actually scribed this, but it's likely to have been a Gaelic compilation of poems and stories that the scribes put together. It was obviously done to enhance the wealth of the monastic community in some way. So they put together compilations of poems, stories, and put into this compendium, almost like the Old Testament of the Bible, how that would have been put together. So it was kind of, in a way, the best of, but it was not so much a ruling, but a guidance for the way the culture to move forward, maybe. But like the Bible, the Book of Invasions has been through several translations, each translation changing the meanings, perhaps according to the agenda of the patron scribes. There's a more modern version there. And we got one here, the Liber Gabala Aaron translations. They really are the source, the main source where storytellers, especially on social media today, get their Tuatha De Danann, Firbolg, Fomorian, Milesian stories, how they arrived, their lifestyles on island. But modern scholars do question whether there was actually a Milesian tribe, on whether the Milesians was really a bunch of different tribes arriving maybe from Iberia, all of them coming that way, Turkey maybe. But they were called the Milesians to be simplified for easier storytelling. And it makes me think of the Mary, Joseph, and Jesus stories. A lot of scholars are now thinking, well, that's been Mary, Jesus, and Joseph are really a simplified trim down from what was really a large family, or even a small tribe that perhaps had some shamanic heritage. And as these spirits that are our ancestors have returned to Earth, they're said to be the spirits of all nature, and they're also connected and very loyal to the Earth Goddess. Great, Brian's here. Well done. Thank you for being getting on board, Brian. We'll come to you soon. Anyway, reading about the spirits, the underworld with the goddess, to me it sounds like as if the spirits are like a beehive all buzzing around this Mother Earth. And like the beehive stories inspired by the Book of Invasions, there's talk of a parallel world where the spirits emerge from the Sidhe Mountains and they actually mingle among us. And to make stories more interesting, of course, the storytellers tell of the mischief and the trickery deeds. But sadly, I fear this can move into the fear-mongering. So I try to avoid that, but that's what's popular. Of course, that's what gets attention. that's what sells. But I think it's got to the point where it went to actually fear-mongering nature itself, such as like it's safer for people to be enclosed in a church for sanctuary than to be out in the woods. And out of these stories, there seems to be the Ishi, who are the beautiful ones, like this one, but also the most temperamental, that they can actually be, they're told of as being the fierce guardians of fairy forts, guardians of the hawthorn trees, guardians of the chieftain trees, and also the sacred holy wells. But perhaps the best known retaliation of this is the stolen child, which we'll be coming up to, the changelings, the stories of healthy boy babies being swapped for sickly, unhealthy babies in the middle of the night. And of course, this was made very famous by the W.B. Yeats poem, The Stolen Child. And it seems to be W.B. Yeats, in a way, that was perhaps a kind of a leader in the whole Celtic romantic movement. And he was perhaps the one, all these she names of people that lived in the she, perhaps he was the one responsible for shortening all that into just calling them the she. But from this, the Stolen Child, got a lovely set of pictures for you, the Changing Folklore, is the myth that the sons of bootleg poaching whiskey makers, they're the ones that are swapped. And so the poaching makers, well, other craftspeople as well, but it's the poaching they say, because they say that maybe they're upsetting the fairies with it. So if they got sons, they fool the she, or try to fool the she or the fairies, by getting their sons to wear skirts. And I've got some lovely old pictures. There's some poaching maker there. But here, I got some lovely pictures here. There we go. Some of the sons there, they're wearing skirts. And this is to fool the fairies. And there's another one there. And there's another one I got out the archives there. So there we go. There are all these boys that are being raised with skirts for the fairies so they're not swapped over. But as babies, the cribs and the cradles of these baby sons, they would have, I couldn't find any pictures of this, unfortunately, but a poker was kept across the crib. I'm not sure about that, but a Bridget's cross for protection was put on top of their blankets. All these things to try and persuade the she not to steal their sons. It was all part of the fear-mongering in the she and fairy stories, I feel, all this was. But the fearful storytelling seems to get more intense when the fairy origin was not the descendants of the Tuatha De Danann, but of the fallen angels. And angels, these are angels thrown out of heaven for not being pure enough, but at the same time not being wicked enough for hell. So their new mission was to come back to Earth, be amongst us humans, protecting nature and enforcing wrath on the people that abuse nature. And even in the Tuatha De Danann stories, they've changed them arriving on air as fallen angels too. And there is a place quite near, well, Corona Mountains. There's two places where it says the Tuatha De Danann fell as fallen angels. In fact, other parts of Ireland might claim the same as well. But to the west of Keju here, we have Kilronan. I haven't got a picture of that. But also in County Leitrim, go northeast of Drumshambo, and you got the Slieven Iron, which is, that's famous for walking through there. There's a mass rock in there, in fact. And that's another picture of it there. And this, of course, is a place for UFO spotters that love to go there. Now, for the even more scaremongering, we cannot forget the ever-contemplated keening Banshee, arriving to take the people to the Tir na Og, an area we are, keening Banshee there. And then, I love this. This is from an old story. The idea of the white she horse riders taking the fallen to the west, to the land of youth, the land of eternity. And there's Neve about to take Oisin off to Tir na Og. That's a bit of a cartoon from that. Now in Scotland, She is the Binj or Binj Ni. We have these stories here in Northwest Ireland, at least. But she is the washerwoman, and who in folklore, she, as I say, arrived in Ireland. She became the foundation of some of the Morrigan, Monacorcuan stories, especially with the story of the Wooing of Dagda. But I tell that one on another session. But on the west coast of Scotland, and in Ireland too, and I know in the USA you've got them, you've got these beautiful orange-beaked oyster catchers, and they patrol at the edge of the sea. I love these birds. There's something quite calming about them. And it's said that they are actually there to catch the spirits that have escaped from the Tír na nÓg and trying to return to the land. And they're there, beep, whatever they do. They're calling on the white Sidhe and their horses to come and take those spirits back again. So that's the story there of the oyster catchers and why they're there. And then we got the Leon Sidhe, the enchanting cruel passion from a teasing fairy lover. I'll be talking about that in later Sunday sessions as well. And there's a bit of a fairy lover there that's ready to tease someone. But around Ireland, the underworld Sidhe people are said to support farmers and their yields as long as their own wild sanctuaries are not touched. The wild sanctuaries, there's a bit of hawthorn for the Fae where they can roam. And in Scotland, they're said to not be so forgiving. They do not like farmers. They don't like farmers much. Here it's said in Ireland that the Sidhe are there to support the farmers, but in Scotland, it's said that when the farmers take away the woodland, they are amongst and taking trees away. Amongst these trees, you might come across the Gilly-Doosh Sidhe, and who takes the life of farmers away who dare to take their woodlands. And I think this one comes from the Picts being a farming people. And then we had the ancient Argyll. Argyll was named after them. Say Argyll fast and you got Argyll. And these people, it's said, were tree people. They were Gaels as well. And of course, we got to talk about the Cúshi, the personal spirit protector, the black, dark dog spirit. Could be a wolf spirit, fox spirit. There's some scary and some grand stories around those. But as much as I love the Sidhe and fairy stories, despite being concerned about the increased fear-mongering, which does seem to has happened through the establishment of the church, I'm personally not a believer of Sidhe individual personalities. My own belief, and we'll be covering this, well, we covered it, I think, in bulk, is water leaves our body, rejoins the Sidhe world again through the water flowing through the earth, the holy wells, the streams, and so we let go of our individualism. But when people we know and love pass away, memories of those people do last within us forever, don't they? And there's memories of our ancestors of our own family, ancestors of people that we've never met and lived, but we feel them. There are spaces where we go to and we feel their presence. Those memories are there and they seem to linger within us as well. So my feeling is, what better way is there to bring those memories to life, but through the medium of talking about the Sidhe? And that's great for bringing the ancestral memories forward, I think. And a lot of people say, by doing so, maybe you're entering the fairy realm. But preferably, let's do that without the fear-mongering. Let's hope respect is instinctively within us. And then we can wrap all this up into the Creed of Sidhe, as we know in Scotland. I think it's Credit here, the fairy faith, anyway. And I have got some spellings here if you want to take some record of this. As I say, these are the variations of the Ishti, the ones that live in the mounds. And there's the Book of Invasions I was telling you about. And Dinshi, these are the spirits of our ancestors that are said to roam amongst us. And then we got the Banshee, the washerwoman, the bean bani there, and then the fearful gilligoo, the gilly-doo she, who's the woodland she. It's a Scottish kind of mythology, and the Kushi, the lovely Kushi, the dog spirit, wolf spirit. A lot of people can relate to the dog spirit, wolf spirit, and fox spirit. Anyway, I better to see what you're actually saying. Seeing as the time is moving on, we've got to get on to our lovely guest. Yes, definitely Claire's here, and Kimberly Kabansky, hello from Boston. 3 weeks of camping and rowing, 226 miles of the Grand Canyon, or go back and watch the sessions I missed. Well, I hope you met some wonderful water ski down the Grand Canyon. You must have done. The memories that people have left there and the adventures there is definitely around. We have Mary here. Hello there. Thomas Robinson's back. Hello from Santa Fe. Many angels out here. Fabulous. Thank you all for joining as usual. Some of you a lot of you regulars there, which is lovely. Now let's not forget the Sroshi. I haven't talked about those, have I? This is the touch of fairiness within us. This is an illustration that was brought to us now. Sorry, I'm getting on to here. This one was brought Charlene Bray, who kind of runs workshops up in Washington State, and that's a sort of an emblem that she has, that she carries. Excuse me while I remove that banner. It's so we have the Sroshi, the touch of fairiness within us, and we talked a lot about that 2 weeks ago as we were with Seamus and Sarah of the Fairy Council of Ireland a couple of Sundays ago, and I know you thoroughly enjoyed that, and we should have them back again very soon. And so going back to considering the She Mounds, where did they come from? Some of the humans built ancient stone cairns that are built on these mounds, and the construction of those, some people call them the She Mounds. But they're regarded as entrances to the She, to the goddess. There's something like that. Again, let's bring up Charlene's, and we got this, and we've also got a Rath Crone. I forget where that one is. Someone here might be able to remind me. We've got the Rath Crone one, but I haven't got that one. One I didn't show, there's a beautiful fairy faith one, and going into such entrances. But I suppose this can get a bit confusing, as a lot of these ancient stone cairns were built well before the Tuatha De Danann appeared. So maybe some people believe that they were actually pushed into the mounds through these. And I showed you the corner Shiga near here, and that has the remains of a cairn on the top. So that's, as someone said, is the communication boxes to the She world. However, it translates that the builder of the She Mounds was the kayak. A lot of people talk, in terms of the kayak, the Kaliak, who many regard, there's a stone version, regard as the earth goddess. And when people today think of goddess, they contemplate on wombs, fertility, the seeding of birth of new life, especially this spring, any spring. And of course, we have the Sheila and the gigs. Now, I've spoken long enough, maybe I think too long for now. We've got these wonderful guests, they're all lined up, ready, and we'll continue this a lot more during Tree Sanctuaries next week, Tree Sanctuaries Uncurling next Sunday. And then we got Fairy Stories for May on 9th of May. So any more comments joining? Let's see how you're all here. Thomas, we've caught up with you now, so it's time definitely for our first guest. And let's get my earplugs for the first guest, because we've got some real treats for you this afternoon. and fabulous. Right, now, Sandra Parker. I'm going to be talking to Sandra in a moment, but first, from Sandra, let's have a fairy song from Sandra. Hello, Sandra. You ready for the off?
Yes, I'm ready for the journey into the fairy realm. Welcome to our fairy world. Will you follow me out in the moonlight? Will you follow me to the top of the hill? Though most don't believe, to those who are listening, I am calling still. And the stars shine down and the moon is high. The night wind whispers a lullaby, and the things you think are important now will fade away in the magic of the night. And will you follow me out in the moonlight? Will you follow me to the top of the hill? Though most don't believe, to those who are listening, I am calling still. Oh, I am now as I was then, a legend in the hearts and the minds of men, standing just beyond in the shimmering mist, playing merry music till the dawn. Oh, will you follow me out in the moonlight? Will you follow me to the top of the hill? Though most don't believe, to those who are listening, I am calling still. Oh, take my hand and go with me. There are still many things you have yet to see, and you'll never know if you won't let go. And I'll be waiting till you hear me call your name. Then will you follow me out in the moonlight? Will you follow me to the top of the hill? Though most don't believe, to those who are listening, I am calling still. I am calling still. I am calling still.
Oh, absolutely fabulous. And that was Sandra Parker with a title track from the most recent album. Here's the cover. It's the Call of the Fairy. Wow. Sandra, it's been a long time. At least it's brilliant to at last got you on Sunday sessions. And I've known Sandra since the heydays of MP3.com, way back in the late 90s, when we didn't have social media. And we listened to, the only way we could listen to the music was through the famous Winamp, is how we listened to the songs. So thank you so much for being with us. First of all, how's Randy doing?
Oh, Randy's doing well. He's doing fine. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. That's absolutely gorgeous. The Call of the Fairy, what inspired you to actually come up with that? Because it's an absolute treasure of fairy-related songs, and it's absolutely adorable. We're going to hear one more soon, but I'd love to hear the background of this a bit.
Well, I've loved Celtic music and legend and fairies since I was a young girl. And as I've got older, I've learned more. And as the years passed, I began to collect songs that I would hear about the fairies, and actually wrote a few songs. I wrote Call of the Fairy, that particular song. It was, it's been about 13 years ago. I had actually written it 10 years before I got to around to recording the CD. And it just seemed to be time. I think my fairy muses were kind of given me the nudge. It's time to record this, create this recording for people to take a journey into the fairy realm.
Oh, lovely. Now, Sandra is actually, you are in Tennessee, aren't you? You're actually playing to us in Tennessee. The one thing that I follow with Sandra, haven't been yet, we haven't been yet, is this remarkable festival. Of course, you haven't been able to do this for a couple of years, but what's your news on the festival that you do? Are you still involved very much?
No, I actually retired from that festival. I'm right across the line from Virginia. We're real here. I'm right on the line, and this festival was in Abingdon, Virginia, and it's a very old festival, multifaceted. You might hear anything from bluegrass to blues. I don't know, but I did start a Celtic music weekend as part of the festival, and it went on for about 20 years, and we brought a lot of great Celtic music and some from the States, and actually we come from Ireland. We had the David band one time, but I'm retired now. I've put in enough volunteer time for that festival.
Ah, fantastic. Now, I gave you time to come out because there's always a long time between your albums, and this is certainly the most spectacular. How is your composing at the moment? Are you finding yourself composing more during this kind of lockdown-ish time?
I have written some instrumental pieces. I'm beginning to get some ideas about, where I want to go with the next recording. Looking forward to getting back into the studio. I have some names for the recording kind of, swirling around. It may seem odd to some people that I grew up here in the bluegrass, what we call the bluegrass belt, and my dad played in bluegrass bands. He played the mandolin, the guitar, a little banjo, a little fiddle. He was all self-taught, and he loved bluegrass. And he would have loved for me to sound like Dolly Parton or Loretta Lynn, and it just didn't work out that way. He loved the bluegrass, and I began to love the Celtic and folk from a very early age. And I have to credit my wonderful elementary school music teacher for that, because she introduced us to all types of music. And I remember she introduced us to that beautiful song, Over the Sea to Sky. And I think that's when my love of Celtic music started.
Oh, fabulous. Sherry, one of our regulars, Sherry Murphy, thanks you for the music. And it is. And I gather you've got one more for us. You can give us one more song from that beautiful Call of the Fairy album. If you can introduce it, it'd be lovely to hear you play that.
Okay, this one is actually a traditional song called the Fairies Love Song. And I will take just a second to mention, if anybody is interested in my music, it's available for a digital download through Amazon Music. And it's also accessible through most of the music apps. You would just search for me and Call of the Fairy. This is the Fairies Love Song. And, there were fairies courting mortals in a lot of these stories. They were romances going on, and most of them didn't turn out well. But this is about a fairy woman who is sitting on the bank, impatient for her mortal lover to come and entertain her. Why should I sit and sigh, pulling bracken? Why should I sit and sigh on the hillside dreary? When I see the plover rising, or the curlew wheeling, then I know my mortal lover back to me is stealing. Why should I sit and sigh, pulling bracken? Why should I sit and sigh on the hillside dreary? Oh, but there is something wanting, oh, but I am weary. Come, my blithe and bonny laddie, o'er the knoll to cheer me. sit and sigh, pulling bracken, pulling bracken? Why should I sit and sigh on the hillside tree? When the moon begins her waning, I sit by the water, where the one born in the sunlight loved the fairy's daughter. Oh, why should I sit and sigh, pulling bracken, pulling bracken? Why should I sit and sigh on the hillside dreary? On the hillside dreary.
Well, to actually get to hear you live, I've listened to the album several times, but to actually see you perform, despite the in and out of the harp sound, that's just absolute magic. It brings the album to life. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure people that were with us this afternoon, people, a lot more who are going to be listening this evening and beyond, and Barbara Smith here, absolutely loving it. It's a wonderful contribution. It's lovely this is going to be archived. So thanks very much. Despite the sound problems we got through, your voice sounded remarkable. Lovely interview. So thanks for being with us, and I hope we got an excuse to bring you back again. So thanks very much, Sandra. That was absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Oh, hang on. We're going to have a bit of a kind of questions and answers. If you can hang on for that. We are going to run a bit late, but after Brian, after Claire, we'll have a questions and answers panel session. So thank you again. Hopefully we'll come back and we'll talk to you again. Thanks. All right. Next up, songs and harps. What about a harp maker? It's all part of the process of, I suppose, communicating with the she, definitely communicating with the she within us, our bit of fairiness within us. And look at that. So Sandra definitely bringing out the fairiness within inside her. And I hope that encourages all. But what I love, Brian Callan's coming up, harp maker. Brian started as a cabinet maker for many years before actually making harp. So he got an incredible sensitivity for wood and how to use wood. He really tunes into the wood and the various tree species. You go to his website and you got a choice of different trees and all the different sounds of that. So it seems natural that for him to engage with wood and get into the whole process of wood species for the different tone. So it's going to be a great pleasure in a moment to have Brian talk to us for a few minutes about wood, harp making, and the passions of his craft. So let's bring on Brian now. Hello, Brian. Thank you for joining us. Are we all loud and clear, I hope?
John, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
You're very clear. Fantastic. So where do we actually start? I mean, the thing that grabbed about your harp making is how, you know, this association you have for many years with the wood before you even made a harp. And to me, it's like the harp is a manifestation of your relationship with wood. Would that be an honest assessment?
It would be, John, absolutely, yes. I certainly build up a relationship with the tree even before it's planked in some cases. So a lot of energy is gone into it.
And the other fascinating thing is the fact that you moved from the north there into Crockwell down there. It is County Galway, isn't it? And you're like 30 minutes away from where the famous Cafferkey harps were made. Are you familiar with Paddy Cafferkey harps?
Yeah, Paddy's a good friend and has become a good friend over the years since I started. He would have been one of the first harp makers I would have went to and sought some advice on, because he's only about 7 or 8 kilometers, 5 or 6 miles from where I live.
It was just fascinating because he's retired now, and it's so lovely that you popped up in the area with your own expression, your own harp making, and a very profound, to me, a very profound expression of Irish harps. And it's just looking at what you've done, absolutely beautiful. What actually inspired you to actually get into harp making in the first place from your carpentry work?
Yeah, well, look, I was always interested in the harp from a woodwork point of view, not so much from a musical point of view. So, but I kind of put that aside for many years because I was cabinet making, and then I went into woodwork teaching. It was only when my two boys started music and started exploring different instruments that I kind of reignited my interest in harps and kind of having a go at making one.
Oh, fabulous. And now I did read somewhere that your wife is a musician. Is she a harp player?
Well, it's an ex-wife now at this stage, John. So
oh, sorry to bring I put my foot in it. Sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, but she played music, and that's how the boys are so musical. There's a lot of music in the family, so they play a wide range of instruments.
Because that's a question I have is going from being a carpenter. Do you play the harp much yourself, or is this something that's evolved since you're playing?
Yeah, well, I started making harps 10 years ago, and I got lessons more or less straight away while I was making them to have a better understanding of how they work and what needs to be done in regards of tuning and that. But my practice, unfortunately, in harp playing has dwindled. But I can knock out a couple of tunes with making many mistakes, but it's more for my own entertainment than anyone else's.
This seems to be actually a trend with harp makers. I don't think Paddy Cavalcade ever got around to playing the harp much. And when we were on, I was on a tour with Claire Roach, who we got in a moment, and there was a place in North Carolina, and she needed to borrow a folk harp for some of the songs she did. And there was Bryson City, a very small place there, and there was a minister, church minister, who it was just a hobby of his to make furniture. He made one harp, most beautiful sounding harp ever, and he hadn't got a clue about playing this. So it's amazing, the harp player making the instrument for the player. I just find that whole concept that you've got, your passion is in putting that wood together, making that instrument, and then it's the player who discovers it. I find that whole thing quite beautiful, quite moving.
Yeah.
Now, one thing also I love about going to your website there, I did, let's throw it back up again, is the way you've priced it so that anybody really could get a harp. You have a very fair price beginner's harp, and then it goes up. People can make the request, their wood, engravings, the number of strings. But as I asked before, can you introduce your starter, your wee starter harp for us? Do you have that present with you?
I don't, John. I'm actually in a different house today. I forgot I was heading off today.
Oh dear.
I came without the harp.
Well,
sorry, John.
Not a problem, because let's see, for the folks here, I've got something. This is a sample of the 26 string harp that was made by So there we go. We're back up there for one of your harps. I kind of nicked that off your website. That I think that just sounds beautiful. You know, beginner's harp. What's the pricing of that? I know it's quite low.
Yeah, well, for the very basic model without the levers, they start at around €400 or €390.
Oh, it's yeah, that's fabulous to be able to do that. Now, I'm just seeing we're going to have a panel thing, but if you can throw any questions, anyone here, there's just a lot of wonderfuls and magicals, and so. But yes, so it's Brian Callan there, and oh, it's lovely that you could be with us. Callan Harps. Do go to that website and do look at the harps, play that YouTube again. And Brian, it's been a pleasure to actually have a harp maker. And we got you off of the site for, it was the Fairy Council. I saw you're on the Fairy Council site there, Fairy Council of Ireland. And hopefully we'll be able to see your harps selves. And anybody who's got the opportunity, contact Brian, because I don't think there are other harp makers around Ireland, but just very impressed with what you're doing and what you're presenting, how you're presenting it. So thanks for being there. And thanks for being amongst the harpists. And I imagine you get to as many festivals as you can when you're allowed to.
Yeah.
As it makes yourself present. So do hang on. We'll have a panel session with people a bit later, but thanks for being here. So hold on for a bit more. Thanks very much, Brian. Thanks. Oh, lovely. It's a real treat to have a harp maker. Brian, it's so sorry we couldn't see more of the harps, but I'm sure that sample gave you a great, good idea. So go to callanharps.com. And so let's see from the comments. What are you saying at the moment? There's a few people that have just been that love there's Tina. I knew you'd like her. Tina's a husband. He's a woodworker as well, so there's a huge appreciation on that. Maybe Johnny can make harps as well, but let's see. He's well tied with what he does anyway. Brian Sherry, hello. Thank you for joining us. Bring this up at the panel, the best wood or your favorite. Yeah, let's talk about wood. I'm bringing you back again because Sherry is saying your favorite wood.
My favorite wood would have to be, well, I have two favorites. Would be yew or Sally wood, the willow.
Right.
Very magical tones, John.
Now, there's very few harp makers that seem to work with you, so that's a fantastic thing. And of course, the chieftains, as you probably know, that was the chieftains only allowed their own harps, their own bards to have the yew. Everybody else had to use the rowan, I gather, or something similar. But I appreciate you were saying about the sallies, the willow, because of the sound, the sound, and also the stories amongst that. You make sound boxes with the willow, I assume.
I do, yeah. It's very difficult to get large quantities of Sally wood. I won't use regular willow. It has to be Sally.
Great, yes.
Or the tone, but again, it's very, very difficult to get.
Oh, that's a surprise because I suppose that is the native wood, and in fact, I wouldn't say nuisance, but we have a willow cairn in the middle of the tree labyrinth, and usually I do these Sunday sessions from that. And the problem there is when the trees get old, they get wide. So that's probably the thing you're looking for because they are originally the Sally ones. But I can appreciate to actually get something for harp making, it'd have to be a very mature tree. But when people are thinking of weaving, so that's fascinating. But the fact you work with you, what's it like working with you? Is it hardwood to work with?
It's tricky enough now. Well, first of all, the dust of it is very poisonous, so it's you need a lot of ventilation, and you're constantly wearing a mask.
Of course,
work-wise, it is quite lovely to work with. A little bit brittle.
Well, that's well. Thanks for asking that, Sherry. Absolutely wonderful. And we've got Davina come through. Do get to the beginning to say hello. Willow's one of my favorite trees. Glad you're doing this, John. Can watch much later. Yes, we've it's been fabulous so far, and we got more to come. So great for being here. And Tina, I was thinking something might be inspired. Some sort of musical instrument, but I just love the passion that Brian has with that. So thanks. The association with wood and the wood association with she and the Fae all ties up together. Now, moving on, very important moving on. We definitely could not complete this She Sunday session without Stolen Child, and of course to sing Stolen Child for us, we would definitely have to have Claire Roach for this. And I'm just trying to get to my stuff here. Where are we? I'm losing myself here. So yeah, as I say, talking about The Stolen Child by W.B. Yeats. So it's always wonderful to have Claire Roach perform this for us. So let's say hello to Claire. She's here somewhere. Hello, Claire. Oh, there she is. Claire's turned into a wardrobe. Hello, Claire. Are you around? Hello. You're on, Claire. There she is. Hello. You're back. How are you doing?
Hello, John.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
It's you're very sort of broken up, and it is actually for this reason. Claire is actually here to introduce the Stolen Child because her internet does come in and out, and so she delightfully recorded this for us yesterday, so we could actually have it live because it's so precious. But Claire's here to introduce the Stolen Child to you and explain a bit about it. So see how you can cover it. You got lots of sun where you are.
Yes, John, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're very broken up.
Can you hear me?
You got very poor signal.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know why. I'll move inside.
Is it because you're outside and the signal that's not that strong outside?
I think. Is that any better?
A little bit, but vocally, yes.
Okay.
No, you're gone
look,
again.
I do. Let's.
Hello.
Any better?
Not really. You can't just step inside and get a stronger signal. Okay, I was hoping Claire could introduce. Now. Right. The visual is you outside. I'm gonna sort of turn the. Right. What I'm gonna do is, I think, if I can, is try and. No, I think you'd have to do that. I was trying to get rid of the video, but I can't do that and keep you on just audio. Yeah. But I think you have to knock the video off.
Well, yeah. You can't hear me.
Oh,
now.
So if you could introduce the Stolen Child to us, we'll run it.
Okay. Well, I was very fortunate to be in Sign Hill, where we had a wonderful teacher in Sign Hill College, Dublin, Miss O'Brien, and she introduced us to the work of W.B. Yeats. And as soon as I was able, I had to see where these exquisite places were that he described in his work. And of course, any of you that have gone to Glencar will immediately feel, yes, it is full of exquisite nature and fairies. You can just see it there. But I suppose rather than go on too long, I think it never would lose its resonance or relevance, because many people are away with the fairies. I often think people who feel they have to leave get the fairy could be a good thing, or maybe, as you said in your earlier presentation, something fading them away to another path of life. But I absolutely love it. I hope I have honoured the song. And Michael Yates, the son of W.B. Yeats, gave me the permission many years ago, before the copyright was over, to record. So that was a great honour. So I really hope people think I have honoured the song and the exquisite descriptions within. So bye-bye.
Okay, well, here is Claire Roach with the Stolen Child.
Where dips the rocky highland of Sleuthwood in the lake, there lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake the drowsy water rats. There we've hid our fairy vats full of berries and of reddest stolen cherries. Come away, human child, to the waters and the wild, with the fairy hand in hand. For the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wave of moonlight glosses the dim grey sands with light far off by furthest rosses, we food it all the night, weaving olden dances, mingling hands and mingling glances, till the moon has taken flight. To and fro we leap and chase the frothy bubbles, while the world is full of troubles and is anxious in its sleep. Come away, human child, to the waters and the wild, with the fairy hand in hand. For the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wandering water gushes from the hills above Glencar in pools among the rushes that scarce could bathe a star, we seek for slumbering trout, and whispering in their ears give them he'll hear no more the lowing of the calves on the warm hillside, or the kettle on the hob sing peace unto his breast, or see the brown mice bob round and round the oatmeal chest. For here comes the human child to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand. Of weeping, then he can understand.
So there we go, the beautiful Stolen Child there with Claire Roche. And thank you for that, Claire. Absolutely wonderful. You seem a little mesmerized yourself there by it. So thanks very much for that. And now, everyone, we'll have a bit of panel time. Do fire away your questions. Well, we've got Claire on board here. Yes, we've still got Claire. I'm trying to get everybody on board here. Sandra's here, Claire's here, and we got Brian here. So fire away your questions with me, Claire, Sandra, and Brian on questions and thoughts and feelings about the she, about the harp, the association of the harp with the fairies, with the she, with the fairy world, and the whole process of making a harp and including all this in your life. So got a few minutes for your comments and questions from you all that are still here, and there's plenty of you here, which is very nice. So let's see what questions and comments. You're probably still all mesmerized and enchanted by the stolen world there. There's like Sherry, beautiful, so talented. Tina, absolutely love and motive throughout. And Patricia Rice there from Vancouver Island. And one thing we've been trying in several sessions. Sorry, Sherry, we'll get the service of the King on board. When we've had Sherry as a guest, something has turned up. So we got plenty of she stuff. In Service of the King is definitely going to get a prime position on Sunday sessions as soon as we can. So a couple of minutes open still for your questions until I tell you what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Don't be shy now. Because it's been absolutely fabulous with these range of guests here. You've gone very quiet. You've gone very quiet. So it's really thank you for all of you being here. You watch this, all the questions will start coming in now. We get this sometimes. So thank you very much. I better move on. Well, I'm going to, just in case there is a question, I'm going to put myself on to tell you what's coming up. As I say, with this, this is all brought to you by your sponsoring. Thank you for sponsoring, as I say, subscribing to the Sunday sessions through your Patreon subscriptions covers the cost of the Sunday sessions. And I'm still slowly developing the She, Water and Folklore course for you subscribers. But coming up on the Sunday sessions, this is the stuff. Next week, Tree Sanctuary uncurling, and get to thing with that. A couple of weeks ago, we had the Tree Sanctuary making, and so because that was towards the end of the tree planting, and we talked about the assembly and the maintenance of the Tree Sanctuary. Next week is wire Tree Sanctuary, the purpose of it, the importance of it in our lives. As I start this session off, of course, with the idea of you taking the folklore as a sort of an instrument for contemplating on local nature-based folklore and using that to inspire you, and from that inspiration, just write things down, and it could become your poem. And it's amazing how many times you can contemplate in your sanctuary. You're at last making nature connection, because we're wired the whole time. I'll be talking about that and continuing a bit more about the Fae world, the She world through that. So it's a more relaxed Tree Sanctuary uncurling, because the leaves will be coming out, and we got such a fabulous forecast next Sunday. Hopefully it will be in the willow cairn. The leaves will be out, sunny, warm, 15 degrees sunny, 60 degrees sunny for next Sunday is the forecast. Let's hope we'll keep to that. So that'll be a fabulous session. And then on the 25th of April, we're going on to some gardens will be well underway. We're going on to food sovereignty versus food security, the little things you can do with the land, and definitely with your allotments, even with community, even you've got to keep the distance and the mass, what we can still do. But food sovereignty versus food security, there was a lot of dialogue last year, so that's coming back. And then one that people love is the 2nd of May. That's our Beltana holiday. And we'll be there with all the folklore and the Beltana flowers, the Maybush folklore, the hawthorn might be thinking of coming out. The bluebells will certainly be out. So that is on the 2nd of May. So let's have a look at your passing comments here. What do we got? There's Tina Rock would love, can we visit the workshop studio? I would say the best thing for that is go to the website and and contact Brian. But let's Brian say something about that, about visiting your workshop, Brian.
Oh yes, absolutely. Everyone's welcome, John, and it's a must, especially if you're definitely considering to buy a harp. To come and see the wood and see how it's put together, and kind of build up a relationship with the workshop and see exactly what suits your needs.
Definitely, that's wonderful. And then there was Sherry who said, do you actually spend time with the tree that you are harvesting? From what I see, you seem to use fallen trees. Am I right? What's your answer to that one?
Yeah, I've never cut down a tree for specific use for the harp making. It's wind fallen, and it's most of it's in and around my area within 4 or 5 kilometers. So I would have spent a bit of time walking around some of the trees where they were growing until the wind had taken them down.
That is a deep relationship. In a way, it's intriguing going around the woodlands by where you live. That whole idea that you're waiting for its life to be at its end, which to you is its harvest time. That whole process, that's very magical. That's very She in its own right. It's lovely to hear that. I mean, that's a very precious thing, because any other harp maker, will just try and buy some wood and make a harp. With you, it's the whole process. It's like the harp is the putting the cream on the on the top. I just love that. Well, thanks for sharing that one. That's wonderful, Brian. Thanks. Any more? Yes, there's Candice is feeling the unicorns this hour. Whether you, I don't want to go into the unicorn one for the moment. We might bring that in another Sunday session. Maybe when we got Sherry on that, she'd probably talk to us a little bit on unicorns. So that is wonderful. Any more questions from you? It is. Thank you for the amazing guests today. Sandra Parker, lovely couple of fairy songs there. Brian with his association to wood and the harps is really stunning. And Claire Roach. So it's been a fabulous session. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this after this broadcast, and as an archive, which I know a lot of people come on in the evenings and they come on the following day and through the week, keep the comments coming. I'll still look and I'll still answer these comments. Subscribe and click the bell icons on YouTube and Facebook. They will remind you of details of the next Sunday sessions. Thanks very much. So it's really, let's have a look, any last moment comments. Thank you, Patricia Tina Seri and Johnny Gathers Carvings locally, and brilliant on that work there. So enjoy your a very safe week, full of wonder, inspirations, enchantments. And so thank you for being with us. Until next Sunday, play well. It's been lovely. So bye-bye to everybody. Bye. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here again. This put me off. And hopefully we'll all see you again sometime. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye,
Thank
John.
you, John. It was
Bye.
beautiful there. It's nice to meet you. I can't remember your name, but your beautiful harp. I'd like to get my hands on one day. Music and bless you guys and girls.
And you, all of you. It's lovely. It's hard to say bye-bye, but I'll better say bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.